Good morning. You listen to FloridaLA.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest in Bologna, Italy, is Joe Lundgren with Joseph Lundgren Consulting. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Kemp.
Good to talk to you. You've been over at the Cersaie show this week, and it's Thursday afternoon there. Wanted to catch up about highlights from the show. Just a little quick background. You've been in this tile business most of your life, spent, I think, 27 years in some type of marketing role with Del Tile, and then went off on your own 13 years ago as a consultant, and you've been helping many of the companies that have been moving to the U.S. with factories navigate that process. Let's talk about the show. What are some of the highlights from Cersaie this year?
First, thanks for having me, Kemp. The biggest highlight, and it was exciting for me to see, is the first 2 days of the show. The crowd is fantastic. We have Cersaie going on. We also have Verona, which is Marmac, the stone show. But then every other year we have the equipment show in Rimini. So you've got 3 different shows going on simultaneously. A lot of the theory is a lot of people come to Cersaie for the first 2 days or so and then might go to Verona or over to Rimini. But everybody I spoke to, every vendor was very happy with the traffic through their booths. Sometimes I'd go to a hall and say, forget it, it's way too crowded, and have to come back to that hall later. So the crowd was very good overall. From a trend standpoint, I always like to look at the technology, and specifically company ABK, which has multiple brands. Also, Impronta, they have the ability to now have porcelain panels. The veining on a marble look carry through the entire product, basically a through body, like marble, and then have the inkjet on top match the vein through the body. It is available in the 2cm, so for countertops, it's going to be really groundbreaking when it comes out in the U.S., the ability to fabricate porcelain and not have to cut that edge on the piece to show a nice edge. So that technology was fantastic. And then also you'll hear the term that they use to try and simplify it for us Americans, glue and grit. Glue and grit is a process within the inkjet technology, which essentially is what it sounds like. They put a glue application down, and then it's actually the grit is granilla, which is a frit that they can put down on top of the tile and then inkjet on top of it and literally give you veining with texture without doing it with a punch or anything like that. And it's a very, very defined graphic. So we saw a tremendous amount of that going on in a lot of different companies' booths.
All right. I want to just mention, this show attracts over 100,000 people. We talked a little bit about some of the technology. Let's talk about the other news items. I noticed that once again, Marazzi's decided not to show this year, and I think that's 2 or 3 years in the running. They're a huge company. Their factories are very close, so I guess they just try to bring people down to the factory, right?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. When Marazzi, also with the Emil Group, has to get all the booth space here in Italy, I think that they looked at that and thought that they'd get more bang for the buck doing it up at their own factory, because they have quite a showroom at their own facilities to be able to show product. So it's sad not having them there, because I think they would take almost a half of some of those halls by themselves. But they found that that's been a better decision for them going forward. But it's great to see all of the other companies really supporting the fair.
Let's face it, Mohawk is the largest producer of ceramic tile in the world. Some of their brands are there, though, right?
That's true, yeah. The Eliane brand that is down in Brazil, they have a booth here with the Decor, which is their higher-end brand that they do, with some Elizabeth product, I think, mixed in there. But they are showing at the show because they sell internationally, so it was nice to see that group here.
One more quick comment just on the state of the business. We've been tracking the import numbers into the U.S., and this year, up to the first half of the year, they were down about 4%. So the business has suffered just a bit based on many of the factors that we're seeing in this country as far as slow remodel work and slow construction work, right?
Without a doubt. We're all suffering with those numbers, and with the Fed cut rate of a half a point, we'll wait to see the impact that it has. I didn't expect the full half a point, but I thought it was great news. One of the things that happens there, Kemp, is it really just improves consumer sentiment. People think we're heading in the right direction, so they start spending money. And I saw where a lot of people are starting to refinance and things, and I'm thinking at the same time they could wait because we anticipate the Fed to cut again, maybe not another half a point, but a quarter point or something. So we'll see that still continue on. I don't think it's going to get to the 3-4 we were used to for many years, but the fact that it's trending down and inflation's down at 2.5% is great news. I don't think we're going to see a direct impact to the business until really the second quarter of next year. I think we'll really have a lot of pent-up demand. We're still dealing with the remnants of COVID, but I think it's going to come steaming back when the interest rates get down to an affordable level. A lot of people don't think 6% is affordable, but a lot of us who are older think, hey, that's not too bad. I think once it starts to get down, maybe a point or 2 points down, we'll see that come back. And on the commercial side, I've been watching the ABI numbers, and we, over about 18 months ago, the ABI was high. We didn't see the reflection of that, I think, in the business. And what happened was plans got done, projects were planned, rates were going up. So these guys have their plans done, and they put them on the shelf. And so on a commercial standpoint, typically that ABI is 12 to 18 months when you talk to Kermit, and he estimates that time frame. I think we'll see some of the commercial things break loose sooner because plans are already done. They've just been shelved. And once those interest rates hit the point for the developer that he can make money, he's going to break loose on the commercial. So we'll see that come roaring back. But I don't think that'll probably be till like the back half of next year. But I think it's going to be really strong. And then we'll all be complaining we don't have enough labor.
Another news item just broke this week, USA News, while I've got you. Architecture just acquired Gulf Tile Distributors, right?
That's right. Yeah, David Benson and family, picked up another family business. Gulf Tile's been in business for quite a few years. And unfortunately, this is another casualty from just the economy overall. But it's great to see that Architecture is going to pick that up. And now they're going to be all the way down in Florida. And I believe that, they're very strong in the D.C. market, and they are a terrific high-end distributor, mid to high end, for both residential and commercial. And actually, 2023 has been a good year for them. I had a discussion with David just a couple of weeks ago. So I was excited for them, and good to see, they're going to be using that new facility Frank did over in Tampa, the 3-story facility, which I haven't seen, but I hear and understand that it's phenomenal over there.
All right, one last thing before we run out of time. I understand there's been some news about this India countervailing duty and anti-dumping. Tell us what's going on there.
Just this week, the U.S. Commerce Department issued its preliminary decision specific to the countervailing, which is basically if the government is giving subsidies to these companies. And apparently they didn't find that to be as evident as we have seen in the past with China. And the numbers came in at just 3%, is right around there. A couple different numbers for a couple companies, but right at 3% overall. So that's the countervailing piece. We wait till, I believe it's October 6th, when the preliminary numbers will come out for anti-dumping, and then we'll see what that rate is. So many of us remember China back in 2019, and it was hundreds and hundreds of percentages. So countervailing or anti-dumping, we didn't really care because the number made it high enough to where China wasn't going to be importing. But fortunately for those that filed against India, the 3% is really nothing. So we wait to see what the anti-dumping is, and if it's not a significant number, it really won't make an impact.
These tile plants are expensive, as we all know, and it's interesting to see how Vietnam has come out of nowhere, and they're a big factor now, right?
Oh, without a doubt, and that's an interesting country because they're very a capitalistic country. The government has really sold off a lot of the assets that it has owned over the last 20 years and let it go into the private sector. And that's what's really spurned that economy. And it's not only in tile, but obviously when 25% Trump tax, as we call it, went into play, a lot of textiles moved to Vietnam. So it's not just our product category, but from a tile standpoint, there's been a rush over there because of the fact that they are very capable manufacturers. The issue we're running into now is obviously ocean freight, where all from Asia and even India, we've seen a significant increase in the freight rates to come over here. And so that remains to be a puzzling piece to us because it's kind of an oligopoly with those 8 shipping companies that set the price rates. So something that we used to pay $3,500 for, a container from Malaysia into Houston now is running around $8,000 to $9,000. So it's definitely making an impact on the import price.
All right, I'll leave this one last thought. Still, Italy, from a dollar perspective, is still the largest importer of product into the United States. So most of what we're talking about from India and Vietnam are on the low end, right?
This is true, yeah. In the low to mid-range pricing, a lot of the really low stuff comes out of Mexico, but they're down significantly also on imports into the United States. But yeah, you see those low price points coming in from the Asian countries and India also.
All right, Joe, it's good to catch up with you. Thanks for taking time away from your trade show coverage. Again, been talking to Joe Lundgren with Joseph Lundgren Consulting, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.